Yeah?
Yeah.
My number 3 is a game called Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate Deluxe Edition on the Xbox 360. It's also available on PS3 and Nintendo Wii. It's a port of the PlayStation Vita game that came out early this year? Last year?
Gonna say last year.
Okay, I played some of it on the Vita and really quite liked it. It's a 2.5D game, so it's a 2D game, but you can transition between different planes and sort of shift the perspectives around and stuff. There are some really nice cutscenes intermittently, sort of made to mimic hand-drawn animated cells. They're not static, actually, they move a little bit. The button layout is identical to the main Arkham games, almost identical, so detective mode's on the bumper, A is run, etc. Visually, on sort of home consoles, it's fine. The environments are very low on detail, and some of the individual elements, so one of the first things you see is this fabric blowing in the wind, look really primitive, but on the whole it's fine. And for an Xbox Live Arcade game, stroke PSN game, it's okay. The combat's okay. There's no depth to it because it isn't in 3D and it's not as fast. And there's also a little bit of input delay that I don't remember being on the Vita version. But the combat is so forgiving that it doesn't really matter. It's just quite irksome at first because it's pretty much a thoroughbred button masher at points, but you do get used to it. As the game goes on and on, you kind of just wish the combat wasn't in it at all, and it was just the other stuff. But then again, the platforming isn't particularly sophisticated either. It's like you press grapple when you're told to, and then the game opens up a little bit. It's very much it's a traditional Metroidvania game. It does get better as it goes on, but it's absolutely in that mould. The toys are all right. The analyzer is this thing where you look at things in the background in detail. On the Vita, you dragged your finger over it, so it was quite cool. Here, you're just sort of dragging a thumbstick. It's the problem with detective mode is always the same. It's that if there's a problem, you just need to press one button. That's always your solution, and this hasn't fixed that at all. The game on the whole is a little bit stop-start because it was originally a handheld game, and it isn't as fast on. It's not as fast as the original sort of game. So I mean, one thing that keeps happening is that as soon as you see RB, you tend to grapple straight away. I mean, in the main trilogy, you can back out or redirect yourself quite briskly, but in this, if you see a prompt and you accidentally hit a button, you have to sit there locked in for like 5-10 seconds. That's annoying. The combat animations are really slapdash, so limbs flail around and go in and out of scenery, and you on occasion. And sometimes the button prompts don't work properly. You can if you're beneath an enemy in a vent, for example, and did they walk over you, you have to shimmy in little increments to get to the only point at which it will allow you to perform a takedown. So yeah, it's definitely a slapdash port, I think. I don't think a great deal of time or money was spent on it, but it's okay, it's fine. There are some things in it that are just dumb, though. I mean, so at odds with the IP, stuff that you would never have seen ever in a million years in the Rocksteady games. For example, whenever there's a long corridor, they just put spike strips on the floor. And apparently the world's greatest detective can't step over them. He has to do this elaborate combat rather fucks up all the time. You're just like, why am I trying to bounce over spikes just for the sake of making a corridor more interesting? It's just lazy and... yeah, it just doesn't fit the IP, really. And also, I mean, the concept of the game's dumb because that you go through the game. Why didn't Batman bring all his kit with him? He encounters a problem. He's like, how can I get past this wall that looks like it can be pulled with something? And it's like, dude, you've got that stuff at home. Why are you looking around for... And why are these Wayne Tech crates around Arkham Prison just lying around in rooms? I mean, it's dumb. I mean, it really is stupid. The dialogue is whack, too. I mean, it just feels like it was made by people who don't really care about Batman. But on the whole, the thing's rough around the edges, and like I said, I don't think it took a lot of time or money to create. And if you have a Vita, play it on that. It's really not bad. It's yet another Metroidvania game, but there are some reasonably cool ideas in it, especially later on. It's neither good enough to warrant being mentioned in the same breath as the Rocksteady games, but it's never bad enough to shame the solid game that it was kind of tied to, Arkham Origins from last year. So it's fine. If you want to love it, you probably will.